just a guy with an opinion here. You've got like much more expertise in it. All media is so interesting to me because like I'm a kid of the 80s. I grew up watching TV, and like I grew up for a large part just kind of like believing what I saw on TV and reading what I saw on the news. Now, you know, I'm grown up, have to make my own opinions on things. I will say I genuinely believe that that while people can have challenges with how they discuss things, and you know, right and wrong can be debatable, but there's something in there that I think from a societal point of view, we can agree just generally what's right or wrong. I feel like we're going to get there. Like the stuff about how media works with us or works against us, I don't think any of that stuff's intentional. And I do feel it's like, I'll give you an example. I think of it like email. Email's still like a relatively new technology for us. And I know that sounds strange because like we all email all the time. But email has been with us for a blink of an eye historically. And people still write fucking stupid emails. It doesn't mean they're bad people. They just write stupid emails. Where are we going to be with email in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Our reaction and use of that technology is still catching up to how quickly it's been adopted and what a cornerstone it's going to become. But at some point, like there's going to be, just to go even deeper on it, like, have you ever been trained on how to write email? Like, did you ever go to a class? Was it it wouldn't have been part of college for you, but like, did anyone ever teach you how to write an email?
Yes, and it's funny because I think even that's generational, right? And we could have a whole deep dive into what I think the pre-COVID workplace and the post-COVID workplace look like, and dealing with young professionals who have never actually worked in the pre-COVID workplace. Even email has become generational. Like, apparently, I'm Generation X. I actually believe we're the first natively digital generation, meaning I didn't have email when I was growing up. I didn't have email in high school, right? I never have had a professional position without a computer and an email address and a mobile phone.
Right.
To a certain degree, that's digitally native.
Yeah.
Gen Y and Gen Z eye roll at the formality of Gen X email.
Right.
It's too formal, it's too long. Why is there a salutation? Why is there a sign off? You know, so even that stuff is like generational, and there's not like a single view of that. Yeah. So in fact, I believe I was to some degree trained how to write an email, right? I mean, it's funny. I was going.
But did you go to a class on it ever?
No, I never went to a class on how to read, but I was for sure schooled on how to write an email.
Totally.
And I don't think anyone's schooled on how to write an email today.
Okay. This is the reason, because I'm going to tie it back to media. Like, email is totally interesting to me because, like, email, like, think how many emails you send in a day or how many you get. It's like a ton. It's like a cornerstone of how we deal with things, right? How we communicate with people. But most people, when they go in the workplace, there's not like okay, as a company, we're going to provide you a training for how to write an email. And when you're in high school, there's not like, there might be now, I'm not, you know, I don't know. I don't have the going-ons in high school, or in college, there's not like this is how you write an email. There's how you write, but how you write an email. How do you write it in a way that's like, works with your audience, that thinks what you want to do? I see email as being one of the biggest strike points for conflict in the workplace. And in fact, like I deal with people all the time where it's like there's challenges in the workplace that you can almost always draw it back to emails. At some point, society gets it with email, just like it's gotten it with most things. It doesn't mean there's still not going to be incidents of people acting like jackasses or sending a bad email or this or that, but you kind of figure it out over time. When I think of like media and news and all that kind of stuff, and you think of like real like news, like network news and newspapers and all these things, like these are things, and then we bring in all of like the streaming and stuff like that. I just feel like we're all still kind of figuring it out, and like people consuming news and really being like invested in news and how it forms opinions and all that. Like we're all still figuring it out. What I would like to believe is that I think that the more that we're in this stuff and the more that we're dealing with these different mediums of how we communicate, we kind of get it more. And we get it more in a way where it's like it could still operate as a business, it can still make money, but we don't necessarily have to write headlines for clickbait to like draw people in to fuel rage, or we don't have to only go to news sources where it's like, I'm just going to agree with you. And it's like, just like when we write email at work, it's like, we're going to get it over time. And I am a believer that people get it over time. But all of this technology is still a blink of the eye in terms of the human experience. And I just think we'll get it over time. That's my belief. That's what I hope.
I think you're right. I mean, it's interesting when you talk about like going to school to do this. I mean, the interesting thing is if you do business, like you and I do business, I don't think they teach you how to do that anywhere. And I was having this conversation somewhere where like, okay, why do the best companies in the world hire 2-year associates from Bain, 2-year associates from McKinsey? Because nobody comes out of school knowing how to do business.
Mm-hmm.
And what you know, if you get somebody that spent 2 years at Bain or 2 years at McKinsey, somebody taught them the most basics, how to run a meeting, how to do follow-up, how to write an email. Right. And I think one of the post-pandemic struggles we're having, I'm trying to lead a post-pandemic company in essence, is one of my challenges every day is trying to find time to mentor people who literally don't know how to do business. And I'm not saying that to be hypercritical of my team, but they didn't spend 2 years at Bain. And they spent their 2 years since university not interacting in an office and not being challenged and literally not knowing how to run a meeting or follow up on a meeting. Like what I try to explain, like it's so interesting. I try to explain to people who have only worked post-pandemic about what I used to call my office spider sense, where I could walk into the building in the morning, and as I go through my day, in my peripheral vision, there's a meeting of 8 people in that glass room. I probably should have been in that meeting. I'm not in that meeting. Should that be concerning to me about my career? I'm going to buttonhole somebody in that meeting. I'm going to find them in the parking lot. I'm going to find them by the coffee machine. I'm going to find them in the restroom. I'm going to do a swing by of their office and find out what happened in that meeting. Why wasn't I there? What are the next steps? Where's the next meeting I can hijack? Like there's a spider sense to it. Mm-hmm. You don't know what Zoom you weren't invited to, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what side conversation took place because you can't look out your window and like you can't see whose car is there at 8 in the morning. You can't see whose car is there at 8 at night. Those skills have to be retaught.
Yeah, well, so totally the post-pandemic business world and how we run everything is like I think a super cool challenge for leadership to unlock. Like for me, some of the most fun I've had and some of the most fun conversations is like, you know, like a term I think we've all gotten a little sick of. It's like the new normal. It's like, yeah, this is the new normal. We are going to have flex work. We are going to have remote work. There's going to be like the Zoom things. Like people are going to be left out intentionally or unintentionally. The way the game is done now is going to be way, way, way different. And I just think that's like part of the like, hey, let's figure it out. Like human beings are complex. They're like, we are wonderful and cool and amazing. We're capable of doing the coolest things. And we're like messy and terrible and all of that other stuff.
Greedy and selfish.
Yeah, like all of it. And I just feel like it's like everything that we get, every new challenge that we get, like the pandemic and the resulting things that come from it, from just a work perspective, it's like, oh, this is cool. Like, man, there's all these new things to figure out that I think is the opportunity to make things cooler, more inclusive, more direct, faster, smoother. I just want people to be happy, have good work experiences. I want like barriers to be taken away as much as possible. And I think the changes that have come from the pandemic can create some of that. So like in terms of access for different kinds of people who have different needs, who maybe coming to a traditional workplace was challenging, people who are neurodivergent, people who have all sorts of different experiences. It's like what we can do now is fucking cool. Like talk about getting the best and the brightest. If you're going from this teeny little pool who can kind of fit traditional business structure, that's not the best of the brightest. It's the best and the brightest from a small little segment of society. Now we've got a way bigger segment we can draw from. It's just about how do we do it in a way that the good stuff from how business used to be done can be brought in and kind of capitalized on while we're adapting to this newer way.
I agree. I'm going to bring it full circle. Be hip hop, don't be rock and roll.